Sports Podcast.
Okay. Deep breath. Welcome to the All Sports Podcast with me, your host for this evening, Joel, and Femi's here too.
Yes, sir. Happy to be here, man.
How you doing, Femi?
Yeah, all good, man. It's really good to be here. Now, and there were two.
Exactly, mate.
I mean,
Keeping this train on the tracks, keeping it running.
big facts. It's going to be a fun one, I think. I mean, for this episode, I got the two best podcasters anyway, so.
Let's see if he keeps that one in the recording. So, yeah, we've got a few things to cover tonight. It's a good weekend of sport. We've got lots of football. So, FA Cup final Saturday, and then the Premier League is reaching its conclusion. And despite your claims, there's still a lot happening. Yeah. And there's quite a few permutations going into the last day, which is what you want. There's going to be a lot of, as it stands, etc. So, we'll get into that a little bit. And then, you're going to run us through the NBA and what's been happening in the last couple of weeks. There's been some big results there that we need to get into.
Yeah, I'm excited for NBA action as well because we're down to the Final Four. Really good stuff around that side. Really excited. Got my predictions completely wrong on a clean sweep, but I'm looking forward to it.
All right, let's start on Saturday at Wembley.
Yeah, I did. Big one, man. Especially, I'm not from South London, but I definitely like to claim I'm from South London when I do step out. It was massive, man. Honestly, Crystal Palace, first ever trophy. You know, Eberechi Eze, what a player. And who else? I mean, you look back to the days of Zaha, even back to the days of Balassi, you know what I mean? Or even Puncheon, like the, Palace players. These are players who've come through the ranks, who've, literally dragged Palace out of relegation, put them through in the Premier League, and then to get a trophy to now get the chance to even play Europe. That speaks credit to not just Steve Parish and the job he's done with that team, but also like the fans for sticking with the club, and just even like just the players, who've all contributed, just from years rolling back. And I'm so happy. I was really gassed to watch the game and just the celebrations, the scenes, and I guess on the other side, it's like us United beating City at the FA Cup isn't much of an achievement now, because clearly the FA Cup isn't much of City's bag these days. But honestly, it was a great game, though. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think all the stuff that you've said there about Palace is spot on. Like, it's a real culmination of a hell of a journey for them over the past, you'd probably say, like 15 to 20 years, where they kind of established themselves as a really good team in the Championship, like fighting for promotion, often getting in and around the playoffs, and then to establishing themselves as a Premier League side, really. Like, I think they haven't been outside the Premier League for like 13 years now.
Yeah.
So, to then build that up to actually winning something, like you say, then going into Europe is incredible. Yeah, for Eze to be the guy on that day, like obviously he's not homegrown, but they got from QPR, didn't they? But yeah, he's a Londoner, and I think the connection that he has with the club and the connection that he's built with the club since he's been there is is obvious. So it felt written, and like Eze getting the goal kind of feeds into that a little bit. There were just a few things that happened in that first half where you felt like, okay, this is going to be there now.
The goalkeeper, I mean, controversially, should have been sent off. I don't think so. I think, there was a centre back to cover Dean Henderson, and then obviously saving the penalty as well. And also credit to him as well, man, coming from United. I mean, at one point worth 40 million, and then of course United's selling for, I think, half of that to Palace, and he's established himself. He's really, taking some major strides while at Palace, and now he even gets the chance to play Europe. And he was saying after the game that he made a promise to Steve Parish that he was going to get them to Europe, and he's done that. So credit to him as well. Like, I think the whole team, like, just there's so much for them to be proud of. And even looking at the stats, like possession, City had 79% to Palace 21%, and the passes over almost 700 passes to Palace, just under 200.
I'm not surprised by that.
Hey, like they dominate the game, but which is what we say with City and even the Spanish teams. Like, just because you have most of the ball doesn't mean that's not how you win the game. Goals win games, and they just fail to find the back of the net. And Palace they played football the right way. Even the manager, he's come in, new season, new club. For some managers, I mean Arsenal, but he's come in, Glasner, he's come in and he's really established his way of playing, at the football club. And I think, this is just it's just credit to, just getting the right manager in, getting the right players in, also just having the right atmosphere, around the club. I think Palace is a really positive club to play for. They represent the culture, especially like what they represent to London, to South London. It's huge, it's massive. And so it was really good to see that represented, all throughout the final.
Yeah, and their tifos, like the connection that they have with their fan base, is unique in England. I think. I don't think there's other. I mean, obviously, everybody has their connection with their club. But from the outside looking in, I would say that Palace is actually genuinely unique. I don't know how they do it in terms of like how closely they work with the club and stuff like that. But it seems to be that the club really buy into it and kind of make sure that the right people are in the right place in order to generate an atmosphere and in order to allow them to kind of focus on fan-funded initiatives for the tifos, for example. And this one was shown at the final was of a dad and his two sons, and the dad has like recently passed away. So for them to like be able to tell that story of, and like for lots of people, that's what football's all about. Like going to the football with your dad is really formative, and to be able to tell a poignant story like that, and kind of I feel that really displays the connection that they have. So I'm glad that you touched on that. What I'm not glad is that Dean Henderson shouldn't have been sent off. I will say, like, watching the game, I don't know if it was like the way that it happened or the commentary at the time, because Alan Shearer on the commentary, I was watching BBC, and Alan Shearer was saying, like, he's going away from goal. Because when it kind of happened, I didn't really realise live what had actually happened, that he actually like batted the ball away. It was just like, I thought initially that Haaland had touched it round him. Yeah. And then they kind of stop the game and the comms are saying, they are looking at this actually, and then they show a replay and it's like, that's obviously handball. And then I was turning over my head, I was like, but they can't bring it back for a free kick. And I was like, so they're not going to bring it back for that. What are they looking at here? And then I realised, it might be a red card. I think because Shearer was like so matter of fact about, I was going away from goal and there's defenders covering the line, so I don't think it will be a red. I didn't really think that much of it. And it got to half time, and Wayne Rooney was so adamant. He was just like, it's a red card. I think that's when it kind of, the switch flipped for me. I was like, oh my God, of course it is. Like, Haaland is literally just going to touch it round him and put it in the net. And then they get into this, like, I don't know, mental spaghetti about it being an obvious goal scoring opportunity and the direction of play. I don't know. I don't know if maybe the VAR also got caught up in the thing that I got caught up in where it was like, this feels weird. It doesn't feel like a goal scoring opportunity, but like when you look back in the cold light of day and look at it again, it's like, I think anyway, it obviously is, because the direction of the play is completely dictated by the fact that Henderson bats the ball towards the touchline. Two defenders covering. There is definitely two coming in. But I just think because the goalkeeper's out of his net and like Haaland's going past him.
Yeah, but when you've got, I thought the point that Shearer was making that there was a defender to cover him. Yeah, go on.
And I think that's relevant when it's a defender making the action. But when it's a goalkeeper making the action, it's like, there's defenders covering, but they're not goalkeepers.
True.
The conversation, didn't they?
Yeah.
Apparently he was talking about time wasting. Apparently he was.
Oh, really?
Yeah, apparently he was making off about to Henderson about how much time he wasted, and then Henderson was like, obviously the rebuttal was, mate, you had 10 extra minutes.
I mean, talking about the time, how much time is wasting. Henderson can also talk about how much the City squad is probably 10 times worth theirs. So like you've got to do what you can to win the game.
And if you put yourself in a position in the game where wasting a bit of time is to your advantage, then you've done something right.
Take it. Like, absolutely. I never get, when especially the big clubs, it's like, oh, you're time wasting, you're doing it. Like you've done everything to cheat. I mean, we can't make those claims.
I know what you're doing out there,
yeah. Unless you cheat the system. If the small clubs can time waste, can find tactics around the game, the legal tactics, to try and win the game, then feel free to take that because like to me, it's really not that deep. But so happy for Palace, man.
Yeah, I was in the end as well. I had some conflicting feelings going into this, obviously, because Palace beat Villa in the semi-final, and I was there. It's difficult, and I didn't really know how I'd feel about them winning the whole thing because I was doing these like mental gymnastics of, well, if Man City win, then they're always just going to win it, and it didn't matter whether Villa got there or not. Mm-hmm. But if Palace win, then they always beat Villa in the semi-final of their first ever trophy, and that is the story. But I think enough happened in the final that no one would care about that.
The talking point would definitely be around just culture, the red card, possession. So yeah, it was great, all fun. Sometimes I feel you get to a stage where you've won so much, and then you take gambles that aren't really gambles in your view, because like if another manager, let's use England for example, if Gareth Southgate brought on a 17-year-old who had never played a minute for England, who'd never achieved anything in a big game,
never even been on the bench,
he will get slaughtered. I think any other manager in the Premier League, I mean, most in the Premier League will get slaughtered for a decision. But it's Pep, so you think, oh, he's some genius, and you're making, bringing in this player who hasn't been on the bench, who hasn't even played a minute, and it backfired because I didn't see anything, He
had that chance, didn't he? He kind of never looked like scoring. It was a bit of a weird one. It was a good chance, but I never thought it was going in. I don't know if it's like because of the way that the game was going or whatever, and the things that had happened previously. But yeah, it made it an easy save for Henderson. Yeah. But yeah, I was just like, who is this? And when they said that he'd never been on the bench before, I was blown away. Like to bring somebody on in a final like that, like say a young guy, is crazy and speaks a lot about what he thinks of the players who are on the bench as well.
Yeah, I mean, Grealish. And Grealish didn't even come on, did he?
No, he didn't get a minute. But you got Nunez on the bench as well. Like they paid a lot of money for him, and he was an attacking player, and he's been playing at right back. But he didn't get a minute. Nico Gonzalez, he's been there since how much they spent on him in January? 60 million.
Yeah, and he hasn't even. He's played, I think, a combined about 60 minutes since he's joined. And wow.
Yeah.
I mean,
a few minutes, didn't he?
Yeah. When you're winning, like most clubs don't talk about. I mean, most people don't talk about, how poor the other side have been. But when you're not competing as much, I think it's easy to, like United, it's easy to talk about the players not competing or not playing at their very best.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that covers it mostly. I don't know. I was going to say something about Haaland then, and just how anonymous he was in the second half. I feel like he gets done to death. Still scores loads of goals, and I think he's a really hard player to figure out to what I think of him.
I mean, even talking about players being found out, have we ever seen a bigger fall off between from last season as we have with Phil Foden? Right. Who's won? He was the PFA Player of the Year, and now he's just, anonymous at games. You watch him and you don't think he's going to do anything of note.
He doesn't make good small decisions anymore. Like I feel like he's very predictable at the moment. He's lacking so much confidence. Like I'm basing this on not seen loads of him, to be honest, but what I have seen of him, I just feel like he doesn't look like he's not playing with the instinct that he was playing with last season. And I think it all stemmed from the Euros, didn't it? I think he really struggled at the Euros to get into his groove. Then I thought Pep did the right thing earlier in the season by giving him a bit of time off, not really having him in the side. And I expected quite a big second half of the season from him, but it just hasn't materialized.
And he needs the reins were almost handed to you anyway when David Silva left, that you were the next big thing, and you did perform for a year, but now it's like You have to do this consistency.
That's what elite players do, isn't it? They take to another. They're not up and down. They're not one good season, one bad season. I mean, I think Salah's a perfect example. Like, it took him a while to get to the level that he got to, but once he got there, he never dropped off. Never dropped off from that level once.
Yeah, and then we held him to that standard. It's almost like Foden wants to shy away from that. You know, he want to be held to that. We're 26, I think.
Oh, he's only 24. He's only 25.
He hasn't even reached his peak in terms of age as well.
I think you're right. I think next season could prove to be a big one for him, and a big one for City in general, depending on what happens in the last couple of games of the Premier League season now.
Ooh, yeah. So we segue into the Champions League places.
Yeah, because I think they're still in it. I think a few weeks ago, I think I'd probably sat on the podcast and said I was definitely saying privately, like, I think they're fine. I think City are going to get in, and I think basically I was saying City and Newcastle, they'll get in, no question. I'm not saying that now. Obviously, City have got the game in hand, but they've got to play Bournemouth at home.
Yeah,
on Tuesday.
They're comfortable, 68, and then I mean they could. Actually, they win that, they could still drop off if they lose, and
they can do, but they'll be third, and they'll need everyone below them to win. So I think if they do that, they'll be like 99% in.
Yeah.
So that's a huge game on Tuesday night, and we don't know the outcome of that yet. So they've still got a game in hand. But as it stands, following the games at the weekend, we've got Arsenal in second. They've got 71, so they secured their place for next season. And then below them, in third is Newcastle, fourth is Chelsea, fifth is Villa, all on 66. City with the game in hand on 65, and then Nottingham Forest after their win at West Ham on 65 as well. There are some goal differences. So Newcastle and Chelsea's goal difference is much better than Villa and Forest's, and City's is also much better as well. So, I mean, it's not inconceivable that Villa, for example, could finish on 69 and miss out on goal difference, which would be a killer, really. So, go on.
I think you've got Chelsea and Forest facing each other, so I think Villa, at the very least, you've got to win.
Yeah, that's they'll be going into it thinking, win our game.
You've got United.
We got United away.
Wow.
Yeah, that is typically not kind to Aston Villa.
Do you know what? It depends. I mean, United have the Europa League final. If they win that, one could argue they might just rest a bunch of their players or just take the
play a load of kids.
Oh, you play the kids. On the other hand, listen, you had a poor season. You know, fair enough. You won a trophy, you're giving your fans something to smile about. And now it's the opportunity to show the fans, I guess, just win the game, win the last game of the season at Old Trafford. Like, you have to win. I think that's the mindset they have to go in. With how poor they've been all season, they can't go into that game thinking, they're playing the kids or you're playing for a draw is acceptable. It just isn't with how poor they've been. So I think it is also a must-win game. On the other hand, if they lose the final, I mean, you might as well call it. I don't see them winning the last game of the season as well.
Yeah, I think it's like the final's a bit of a red herring, I think.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, United have got 39 points from 37 games. Villa have got 66 from 37. So Villa have been this season a much better outfit than United. But I'm looking at United's last 5-6 games.
They've won 1 point.
They've got 1 point out of those. I'm just like, can that continue? It doesn't really feel like it can, but I'm only looking at that through like somebody who grew up in the 90s.
Yeah.
And United just beat everyone all the time, so it's pretty alien to me. But ultimately, over 37 games, if you've only got 39 points, you haven't been a good side, and Villa should be going into that thinking that they're able to get a result against that team, taking out the context of Old Trafford, record there, and the fact that it's Man United. And yeah, that will be happening at the same time, like you say, as Forest against Chelsea, where winner takes all there, really.
That's massive.
That is such a huge game. If they'll be looking to get a result, and then so if Chelsea win, that's it, they're in. If Forest win, they need a favour from elsewhere.
Yeah,
but there's a few opportunities for those favours depending on how City do tomorrow night. Newcastle are at home to Everton, so I think being at home is a huge factor for them, and I would expect them to be
to go through. I think Everton have got their sealed. Newcastle, if they've got Everton at home, I expect them to go through. I think the Hive just playing the last game of the season at Goodison Park, I think that was
after the Lord Nation a little bit.
Yeah, so they're probably just going to go into this game with ease and less pressure. Villa, I think just the other places between Chelsea, Villa, City, and Forest. That's the last two places that need to be decided, and it's a tough one. Honestly, it's a tough one to call. What's your prediction?
I think City are still going to be in it.
Yes,
because I think they might lose to Bournemouth tomorrow night.
But then they've got Fulham, and Fulham
still.
Conference. That's so lucky for Chelsea, though. I completely forgot. So they could still lose and still make it to the Europa League.
Yeah. Cup game against Betis, I guess.
Wow. I mean, be a tough game. Anthony and seem to have been playing some really good football as well, so that'd be an interesting game.
In charge. I think they're no mugs. They've got some household names that you'd recognise. So yeah, I think City will still be in it because I think Bournemouth might do a number on them on Tuesday night. So that would mean that we go into the last day with City and Forest on 65, Villa, Chelsea and Newcastle on 66. I think Forest are going to beat Chelsea. I'm fairly certain of that. So that would mean that Forest finished on 68 and Chelsea on 66. I think I'd back City to do what needs to be done. So they finished on 68 as well, and their goal difference would have them ahead of Forest. I don't like where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
Because I think it means that I fancy Newcastle to beat Everton.
Yeah.
And I think that means no matter what Villa do, it could be that they miss out.
That's
not right. That's not right. That's wrong.
Yeah, if Chelsea.
And I think Villa are going to finish fourth on 69 and Newcastle with a better goal difference third on 69.
So you're saying top five they're making Champions League? I mean, let's just say, we know the top two already. So it's Newcastle, Villa, City.
Yeah, I think that's going to be top five.
Newcastle, Villa, City. I think Forest draw Chelsea. So I think, you're probably right. I'll say Newcastle, Villa, and City as well.
Right. I feel quite good about that now, having spoken that through.
I feel pretty confident about that as well. So it should be good. And then Chelsea, obviously, if they win, 8th place, also get into the conference.
Could be 7th. So they would finish, whoever finishes 8th then, if Chelsea win the conference, I think get the Conference League place.
Yeah, because I know right now, Brentford are because of Palace.
Yes, exactly, because Palace won the final,
That's won the final, so only 6th and 7th go into Europa League, and 8th go into conference, right?
Only if Chelsea finish outside the top 5 and win.
Is there only one Premier League club that goes into a Conference League?
Yes, I think there is a permutation where there are no Premier League clubs in the Conference League next season and only Premier League clubs in the Champions League and Europa League.
Oh, wow.
I don't know how that happens. I think there's still quite a few edge cases.
Wow. This is Premier League. Eighth. So I was reading somewhere it says how eighth place could still qualify.
I think it is on the Premier League website. I had to go at it, but I can't remember.
So Chelsea finished 7th and win the Conference League. So 1st to 5th, Champions League, and obviously United and Spurs both of this. Europa League 6th, Palace in the Europa League, yes. So Chelsea also in the Europa League. And also Chelsea have to finish 8th.
8th? Oh, really?
No.
Yeah. So Newcastle would have to drop right out, would they?
No, because Newcastle already in the Europa League.
Yeah.
Guaranteed from winning the Carabao. So if Newcastle finish outside the Champions League, they drop into the Europa League in the league. But because they're already there after winning the trophy, if they finish 7th, 8th place, still get into Conference League.
Okay. So it's a very slim chance of that happening then.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. Well, we've touched on Europe a bit there. Why don't we talk about the final on Wednesday?
Yeah, listen, I'm so nervous. And it's that quote from...
It's a big game. Do you think it feels like a big game?
I feel like it's a massive game, but the quality as well. I think it's a big game because it's United. If it was any other club with Tottenham, it wouldn't be as big, in my view. But the magnitude of Man United is just so, like, it's humongous, man. Like, and we're talking worldwide as well. Like, regardless of whatever happens, you want to know what happens with United. I know I'm being biased there, but they're one of the biggest clubs in the world. If they lose, it's a big talking point. If they win, it's also a big talking point. Probably less if they lose. Both clubs have to win. Ange, I'm reading reports that he's likely to get sacked regardless of whether they win or not.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? So it seems like Ange is likely to go whether they win or not, and Amorim is likely to stay.
Which, I mean, to be... It's weird, man. I don't even want to, get started on United as a club right now. But my prediction, I think, in truth, Tottenham are probably the better team. Just how the season has gone, they're probably just a better team. Player by player, they're also the better team in my view. They've also beaten United 3 times already this season. Twice in the Premier League.
Didn't know that.
Yeah, twice in the Premier League and once in the Carabao Cup. So. Oh, was it? I think it was the FA Cup, actually. Can't remember which one. But now it's the 4th opportunity. When you go by predictions, you wouldn't expect a club to lose to the same club 4 times in one season, but, where things have happened. So I think based on all of those things, I'd probably say United just win it.
I think United are favourites, but I don't know why.
The history?
It does just feel like they know how to win.
Yeah, facts. Literally. Tottenham don't. I think if United were playing any other Premier League team, do you know what? It's United, man. For whatever reason, in a final, like, they just know how to win. They're weird for them, man. They just know how to win. And I go for them, but if they lose, it wouldn't surprise me either.
No. I think it's good for the competition.
Yeah.
That and good for the match that you genuinely have no idea what that result's going to be. Like, no result would be a surprise between those two clubs. I think it could be quite low quality. I think it could be a bit cagey.
I actually think the opposite. I think
it'll be end to end.
I think it'll be really end to end. I think the game could be decided in the last few minutes. So, like, I wouldn't be surprised if we have a last minute winner.
Bit of a ding dong, yeah. I think it was so obvious on Friday night at Villa Park that Spurs were not thinking of that game at all, and I'm sure it was the case with United against Chelsea as well. Like, they just were not interested in that game. They kind of did the bare minimum of, like, staying in shape, but anything else they didn't really contribute to the game. So I'm sure all eyes are on that match, really.
Yeah, both teams need it bad. need that game bad. They need to win. Otherwise, it's a waste of. I mean, it's really a waste of a season. But if you still make it to Champions League after such a horrendous season, listen, you're in good stead.
Yeah, it's been interesting what Amarim's been saying about that. He seems to think it'll be a bit of a curse, doesn't he? Like, he's like, well, we're not ready to play in the Champions League. It's been proven.
Well, and he's probably right. Like, he's actually not probably, definitely right. You know, with how shocking you've been in the league, you know, where you're at a stage where you might not even get 40 points. I'm sorry, but you take whatever you can. Like, you take whatever you can get. Like, 40, like Man United not getting 40 points in the season.
Unthinkable.
You know, going back to the years of Moyes, you know, I was always thinking it surely can't get any worse. And, you know, boy, was I wrong. So, like, 5 more games and United would have been in the relegation. If we had better quality teams, you know, in the...
I think that's been a factor, hasn't it? Like, we were... I was chatting with some friends on Friday about the league in general and the fact that, you know, Liverpool can't get 90 points quite often. The last couple of years, the top 2 have got 90 points, both of them. Yeah. And this season, those relegated 3, you know, Leicester have got the most points on 25. So the maximum they can get is 28.
Wow.
So... Yeah. All those points have been kind of like concentrated into the middle of the league, and that's made obviously the European places super exciting in terms of who's going to get them. But I think it also kind of raises the threshold of how many points you need to get certain positions. Like say, a team could get 69 points and miss out on 5th place, which would be kind of unthinkable because Villa finished 4th with 68 last season. Yeah. So just goes to show that this season, in the middle of the pack, it's been way more competitive, and I think that has been to the huge detriment of Man United.
Facts, big with facts, and yeah. So it should be a good game. What's your prediction?
I think United. I think United are going to win it.
I think they just nick it, and not because they're anything special, other than just the history and that.
I just think they'll be a bit more assured on the night. I think Tottenham, if they are leading going into the last quarter of the game, I think they could get a bit nervy unless they've got a decent lead. So yeah, I think I will back United 2 or 3-1.
Yeah, I think given just how the whole season's gone, I wouldn't be surprised if United go into the last 10 minutes of that game, 2 goes down, and mate, honestly, like, it wouldn't surprise me. United go into the last 10 minutes of that game, 2 goes down, and still win the game.
Yeah,
like,
I've done it before.
Oh, mate, that's all season. That's all season, man.
Okay, NBA.
Final 4, and a quick recap of how we got there. The OKC Denver Nuggets series was really, really entertaining. You know, it went up to 7 games. The 2 most exciting words in all of sports, the Americans will say, Game 7. And was it a really good series, like just watching both teams go at it. SGA, he showed up and he showed out. I thought experience would play a massive factor in the series. I thought the Nuggets would just about clinch that, given they just have the championship pedigree. They've won the NBA title already. They still have that core group of players. And OKC are a young team, really young, but really exciting as well. They're fearless. They have a very deep squad as well. And that goes a long way in the playoffs. Like, I think they make the argument a lot of the time that, you know, it's the fittest teams that actually win the NBA championship, just given how close the games are, which was mad. You know, you can literally have 24 hours to prepare for a game. Like, between games, you have one day. You know, so, you know, it speaks volumes about how sports money talks, and, you know, I guess you're trying to just wrap up the season as quickly as possible. But that was an exciting series. SJ, you know, he performed. I think he's finally coming to, you know, the big boys now. You know, I know he's there's a shout about him winning the MVP, him or Jokic, but I think at this point you might as well give it to SGA. Like, he's just had an unbelievable season. And in my view, the Thunder rightfully won. They won the game by almost 30 points, you know, in Game 7. So, you know, it should be exciting.
And that was in normal time, yeah, no overtime.
Yeah, no overtime. Like, I mean, they destroyed them. I guess it wasn't even close. I think the first 2 quarters was back and forth, and then towards the end of the second quarter, they just wrapped up. You know, they went up by a clip 15, I believe, and then the third and fourth quarters, game over. So when you're taking out your starters, you know, in the fourth quarter, but with 5 minutes played, like, you know, it speaks volumes just how, you know, the how the game has gone. So I'm really excited for the OKC Timberwolves series. The Timberwolves really surprised me, but I mean, Warriors were playing without Steph Curry because obviously he has the injury, which was a big advantage for them. But I think regardless of whether, you know, Steph played or not, I think the Timberwolves are just too good. Like Anthony Edwards, he is the face of the league. Like, you know, now it's not even a conversation anymore. He's the face of the league. He's the player people want to see. You know, you pay the big bucks to watch because he's entertaining. He's charismatic. He's a good talker. He is also just a really good basketball player, and he plays the game the right way. And he supports his teammates. You can see the chemistry they have, you know, amongst themselves with Rudy Gobert and Julius Randle. Even credit to Nick Timberwolves, not to segue away from this, but like that trade has really worked out for both teams. Both teams in the Final Four. You know, Randle, he's found a great fit with Anthony Edwards and Rudy Gobert, and you see Karl Anthony Towns has really found a great fit in New York. Sometimes we forget he was actually born and raised in New York. So, you know, happy for him, you know, to be home and to be doing what he's doing. But yeah, like excited for the Timberwolves Thunder series because both teams have just been really good and they've been firing as well. And it's crazy, like OKC were first seed and the Timberwolves were sixth seed. So, which goes to show maybe the playoff format just works. Premier League, you know, if you ever decide to adopt the playoff style of tournament football, just, you know, shout your boy. Cavs, Pacers as well. Really good series. But I mean, I think the Cavs, like,
is that a shock? Is that a bit of a shock that the Pacers took that 4-1?
That's a shock in my view. I think there was one game in which the Cavs were without some of their key players because were injured, but you know, the fact that those key players chose not to play. I mean, I say chose not to play, but were ruled out. I think it just speaks to the mentality of their team, because with the playoffs, you do whatever you can to play, irrespective of whether you're injured or not. Aaron Gordon for Denver Nuggets, he had a grade 2 hamstring, and he still played the game 7. I mean, he's a warrior. But to have 3 key players, you know, bow out and, you know, skip the game as a result of injury, everyone's injured. You know, so to me, it just speaks about the mentality that they've got in that team. And, you know, from seeing that, I just kind of knew, yeah, the Pacers have got this one. And, you know, Haliburton, what a year he's had. He has been sensational. Like, he was recently voted as the most overrated player in the league. And he has shown
most overrated.
Yes, the most overrated player in the league. So it was like a survey that went out, and you know the players voted on this, and you know, they voted him as the most overrated. And back-to-back series, he has proved that there are levels to this. And I love his response after the series. He said, "Overrate that." It's facts. Overrate that. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, this is a player who does his talking, you know, on the big stages. He's a player who does his talking on the court. Like, he's not there to just shout from the rooftops about how he's going to do this and do that. But and I really love about him, he's really humble. Like, he's a really humble player. He just goes out there, he has fun, he enjoys the game, he plays the game the right way. And a player like that, you know, you got to give him his flowers. I'm happy for him, and I'm really excited to see what he does in the final. The Pacers Knicks is a massive rivalry game. That people, yeah, it really is. You know, it's a big game, and I think both teams, you know, have a lot to play for, and just the New York Knicks, it's going to be huge for them. Like, it's going to be huge for them because they're one of the top two most valuable franchises in all of the NBA. It's a good thing when you see the NBA Knicks, you know, in the final as well, because now it speaks volumes to the league. You know what I mean? So you know for a fact that those seats will cost an arm and a leg. You know what I mean? Like, because it's going to be so expensive, but it's also great for the league. Like, more viewers. It's like United or Real Madrid making it into the Champions League final. But those clubs, they represent so much, you know, to football. Like, same way with the Knicks. The Knicks represent so much to basketball.
It's weird, isn't it? It's not through winning.
Yeah, true.
It's like it's through something different. I'm not sure what it is about them, but maybe it's a New York thing. I don't know.
It is. It's a culture thing as well. Like, they're just certain, like, franchise. They just have that aura about them, like, and it's New York, like. But then again, you do have the Brooklyn Nets who aren't as big. So it's just something about the New York.
Even with big names,
KD, Kyrie, James Harden is still wearing, as big as the Knicks. There's just something about it's just an aura around the club. Like, and I don't even like to admit this, but it's similar to Arsenal. Like, just something about the Arsenal. They just have this aura, this culture about them that people, relate to and people love. Knicks legend. We're talking Charles Oakley. Like, we're talking these star players.
Yeah.
These are the big names. Larry Johnson, Carmelo Anthony, like players who've carried the Knicks. Walt Frazier, like they're just like what Knicks means to NBA is massive, and it's going to be an exciting series, and I hope they make it to the final because, like I said, it's also really exciting for the NBA. The Thunder Wolves series will also be hard to call. So, but if I was to make my prediction, I'd probably go for OKC. The team's just too deep and they're just too good right now. They're probably the best team in the NBA right now in terms of the last 4 left. So I fully expect OKC to beat the Timberwolves in probably even 6 games, and I wouldn't be surprised if they win the final.
It feels stuck to the West. It feels like whoever gets through that West one is going to be the favourite in the final.
Yeah, for sure. That's why I really wanted Denver to win it because I thought if they won it, I think they would have still been tough. It would have still been tough to beat for the Timberwolves, but if the Nuggets won it, I think they would have had a chance of winning it. But now, I think OKC. I think it's a cakewalk not a cakewalk, but I expect them to win the NBA title. Yes, I think it's a surprise looking at Celtics. I fully expect Celtics to win the title. I think my expectations for them going in was they were going to win the whole thing because their team was just that deep. But the Pacers more of a surprise because one, them beating the Bucks, I didn't expect, if I'm being honest, and then beating the Cavs as well, who were on the tear all throughout the season, was even a bigger surprise. It just goes to show the NBA is just so exciting, man. Like, I think it's the first time in a long time where we haven't had like this dynamite of a team as we used to with the OKC. I mean, with the Golden State Warriors, with the days of Steph, Clay, and KD, where we're not having one team looking like the massive favorites. I mean, we probably did have that with the Celtics, but they just didn't perform. And of course, like Tatum, so. But even with Tatum playing, like the Knicks still dominated that series. So, my view, it'll be an exciting final. I fully expect the Knicks to face the OKC in the final, so it should be good.
Okay, mate, we'll call it there.
It's been a good one, a really good one.
Yeah, great stuff. So there is an outro that Matt does every week.
Yeah.
And I think he says something like, "Thanks for listening. Make sure to like and subscribe. And if you want to get in touch, send us an email at that email address that Matt always says, which I think is the allsportspodcast@gmail.com. But that is a complete guess."
Amazing stuff.
The meeting's still rolling, but yeah, Femi left. So that's funny.